Hey, lovers of the world. This is It's Hard Being Human, featured by Postpirations. I am Devyn, and this is Karlie and Nadine. And check us out on socials at Postpirations on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, check out our Patreon page. You can check it out on my Instagram bio, and it'll be there. And as always, thank you for always showing up for us and supporting all our hopes and dreams. And today's episode is going to be It Takes a Village. So, dun, 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 dun.
Yes.
Ladies, welcome, welcome.
So, thank you for having me
Yes.
today, Devyn.
Thank you for being here, ladies. It means a lot to me.
This is one of my
hmm
villages. So, what does it
So,
take?
especially after the week we had, I feel like it was pretty eventful week for all of us.
It
And
was, for
And
sure.
so it's a blessing to be here and I know this week I've leaned on you guys just to keep me like mentally there. And I don't know. So what do we think it takes to create a village or a tribe for oneself?
A lot of selflessness. Honestly, this week has tested me in ways that of course, I rose to the occasion and put my personal to-do list aside and everything, and was just pretty much a servant to everyone. And just realizing that, even though like people have like sisters, brothers, or whatever, it literally takes a village to ensure that that person feels completely loved, like, and supported. So I know for sure, like, villages are pretty much like beyond important to me, because once more, it takes a village. Like no one person. I remember like one morning where I was having like a meltdown, and I, like, Devyn wasn't available, so I was able to reach out to Car. So it really takes a village to
hmm
stop somebody from going to murder someone. So
Speak
I'm one where
such a Virgo.
such a Virgo. I'm like, I need to talk to somebody right now before I lose it. And I had my village where, as soon as I got on the line with her, she goes, "Is it that time of month, or is it almost that time of month?" And I said, Shh, "Yeah, you might be right. I might be like a day away from," because like usually I'm a jerk. Like this was like wouldn't even like upset me. But when she mentioned that, I was like, I am overly sensitive right now. This is wild, and it stopped me from committing murder.
Well, and it's funny because the reason why that was my number, like my very first question, is because that's always my therapist's first question when I enter therapy and I'm coming in hot. She's like, "Karlie, first off, what time of the month is it for you? Are you about to get married? Are you on your period?" And then I'm like, okay, so I'll take that into acknowledgement, but I still feel this way. But she was like, that's usually why your emotions and things are heightened. But I'm the same way as you, Nadine. I feel like when I'm feeling some type of way, I have like a list of people that I go down and like, okay, you didn't answer. Okay, next, you didn't, and like, there better be
But there
someone
better
on
be
that
before I get in a car and do something that is going to have numbers across my chest. Yes, and luckily for me, you answered, which gave Devyn a
yeah.
break. But that's why I am a huge, huge, huge advocate of a village,
Yes.
and not necessarily even the wrong village, because I've spoken to people where they're like, I'm surrounded by friends, I'm surrounded by whatever, but really and truly, they can't even have a conversation with those friends. So that's
Mhm.
not a village
Not like a deep, substantial
at all.
conversation, like it'll be like surface level. But like, I feel like almost all of my friends, when we get together, all we do is have deep conversations. Like, I don't think that I have friends that we
But
just only hit
Karlie,
surface
that's
level.
super rare. That's super rare in this day and age,
It is.
because so many girls are just like, oh yeah, I have this girl. She's been my friend for like 20 years. I am going through this rough time. Can't really reach out to her, but I'm comfortable with talking to you that I've known for like 2 days. And I'm like, and that's your village? Like, or not village, but that's your village? And it's like, yeah, that's my village. I'm like, huh.
I could never. I could, but I think we set the what am I trying to say?
Foundation,
Like, we
tone.
set the standard, the foundation, the tone, exactly, because I know that I am an individual of substance. I'm not going to enter friendship only expecting surface level shit. Oh, look at that with the coffee cup. Let's take a moment, please, and acknowledge that they have matching cups. And I was not included in this. That's cool. That's cool.
We'll get you yours, Karlie. I
Um,
promise. I promise.
I
Mhm.
expect it in the mail in 2 to 5 business days.
Look at
Along with
But
along with your T-shirt that I owe you.
Devin, that's a sensitive. We're
right,
not going to
not
go there,
even.
Devin. We talked
Yeah,
about this in the
not
beginning.
going
It's a
there.
soft spot for her, clearly.
I want that damn T-shirt. I have been waiting like 2 years for
It
this
takes a village,
stupid
guys.
crop top.
Stupid.
That's not
Well,
where the "it takes a village" comes in, Devin. You're using it incorrectly. I had to like lean
I
in,
need
like,
help with
no, that's
shipping.
not.
I need
That's not
help
it.
with packaging.
I have told Devin, tell me how much it costs and I will send the money. Tell me how much it costs to
Okay, well,
ship.
let's talk about like, is that what you both were saying is basically how hard it is to have friendships with girls. Like, how do we have,
Yeah.
like, how can we have deeper, meaningful relationships with girls? Like, I think, Karlie, even like what you were saying, knowing when your friends, not just knowing yourself, but knowing when your friends' time a month is, knowing what signs they are, knowing you're a Taurus and a Virgo, like, that helps me out so much, get to know the two of you and how to communicate and walk you through your emotions each day. So
Well, and I think because like you're like, how do you be friends with girls and things like that? Taking away our horoscopes and our times of
no.
the month. I think for me, how I will say I've been very blessed, and I think all of my friends, like shout out to them. Like I feel like I have very strong, deep connection friendships with all of my girlfriends. But I will say the reason why I think I do is because when I enter that friendship, I'm entering it at my authentic self. And I'll sit down and be like, hey, I'm Karlie. Do you want to know my past trauma? Because and like that's how I initiate. So like I can tell immediately like if they
Yeah.
can't handle me or not, because those are the conversations I'm gonna have. Like, do you want to know about the boy that just broke my heart? And I'm still like dealing from that. And then and so I'm not like, oh, I mean, I will ask, where did you get that dress? It's super cute. But I'm also going in. Look at Nadine. She's like,
So
what
remind
is
me, like,
going
not
on?
to go on a first date with you. This is a lot for a first date. Like, this is a
Exactly.
lot.
I will give it to you all. I'm an open book. If you ask me, I
Well,
tell
and
you.
then you
Okay.
can eliminate who's supposed to be in your life fairly quickly. Maybe.
Exactly. I don't want to go through the pitter patter of, you know,
Well, it's a little different for
figuring that all
Virgos. We don't, as Devin can tell you, it took her a
23
long
years.
time to really, really get to know me, like layers and layers and layers and layers. Because at each different point in my life, I got a little bit more vulnerable, and I was able to share that with her. I think for me, when it comes to keeping girls around, it's just once more, it just goes down to the trust and the loyalty and the boundaries. Like now, that's like my favorite word. But I didn't realize how much like once you let a person in, they kind of know your trigger points. And I've
Mm.
seen it with girls. I've experienced it with girls where it's just like they know that saying shoe gets you to the next level. So during a discussion, they'll say shoe 15 times. And it's just like those girls, it's like they're looking for a reaction out of you. They want that reaction out of you. Or it's just like, it's what they want to do all the time. It's not what you want to do. So for me, I'm like entering any relationship, whether it's male, whether it's female, I want to make sure that that person like wants to step into my world equally the way I want to step into like to their world, because I like that forever. And I know both me
I
and
think
Devin.
that's like the matching
Yeah.
energy, like you said. Like, are you going to match the energy
Yes.
that I give to you? And I'm laughing because just yesterday I was out with a friend and we were talking, and we were at the store or something, and she was like, you literally have an opinion on everything. And I was like, absolutely. Like, and if I don't, I'll find one real quick and I will be able to talk to you about it, because I like having those I like getting into it, and like it's almost like I'm learning how your brain works. And like to me, it's not even seeing like, do we mesh, but like you're showing me a different perspective.
Yes.
So I know that I can be very stubborn and I have my opinions, but I do like when someone can call me out and show me a different perspective, and I can take a step back and be like, I would have never thought of it that way. It might take me a second to like admit that because I am stubborn, but I will eventually.
Well, that's I think what's so important for me and my tribe and village is I want people like across the board. Like I have a best friend in her 70s. I love her to death. Shout out to Tony Jane. And then I have friends that are married. I have friends that are single. And I love, like you said, the different perspectives. It helps you not stay in your box of like, or closed minded. You're able to go into a situation, with an open heart and an open mind. I just, that's how you should.
And even, sorry, Deb, but like, even like you said, like the single and married friends, like I literally just today, I was like, I had a friend that came over and she's married. And I was like, listen, I need a married perspective on this single issue that I'm having. I was like, how did you get where you were at? You know, like, and it's like a different perspective because for me, like being single, and I have been single for a while now, I'm struggling to like find that balance of like, I want to give you my energy, but I also don't want to give you too much of my energy until I can see that you can match the energy that I'm giving you. And it's like so
In a
difficult
relationship,
to find
you're
that
saying, right?
balance. Yes. Yeah. Sorry. Because like in a friendship, I'll go in.
Well, why do you think you
I,
can't be that way? Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead, Dev.
Just, I'm wondering why we don't think we can be that way when a person we're pursuing a relationship with, or someone, is it like the butterflies? Like, you know,
Well, for me specifically, I can't speak for other people, but for me, it's because I think a romantic partner is more riskier than just a friendship. Like, it could be like, oh, we won't work out as friends, but like, if I'm interested in pursuing you romantically and like in that intimate aspect and it doesn't work out, that's going to break my heart. You know,
It breaks
like
my
it's
heart both ways, because how I engage with my friendships, it's like if I were to stop being Devyn's friend today, that would destroy my world, because she's a very major like
oh,
big
she won't let
component
me
of
not
my,
be her friend. Nadine will sit and have hard, like we will have hard conversations,
yeah.
not to interrupt.
But you guys have been friends for 25. If I lost a friend of 5, 10, 20 years, I'm going to be devastated. But if I have a friend of like a month or 2 months,
You'll still be sad though,
I
like,
don't
but you
think.
know, just because, but again, going back, like I think that determines if you, I mean, how much you really liked that person and what you were looking forward to, what picture
Correct.
you painted of them. Because a lot of times,
I think I just build more up in my head, like more expectations and everything for a romantic partner than I do for, like, I love my friends dearly and they're, you know, but I think for me it's like just like the like, oh my gosh, are you my new husband?
So
You know,
okay,
like
so
me
I'm
and
gonna
Devyn.
pause there, because no, we're gonna pause there, because it sounds to me like there's a hardcore double standard where a guy has to go and he has to be a 10, and he's still human, by the way, i.e. our name. But then a friend could be pretty much like, oh, hey, like, let's just see how it goes. But then a guy, he just like, he has to come in and he has to just have his ish together. I feel like that's extremely unrealistic and not fair, because to grow with them, they have to feel vulnerable enough to make those mistakes with you. Because once more, we want them to give us the grace to make those mistakes. So we can't have them come in at 10 and be like, listen, if you drop down to a 9, that's it. Like, it has to be like, okay, the same threshold that I hold my friends is the same threshold that I'm going to hold him, because I give Devyn the same grace.
that's
I
hard.
think my friends give me that. That's the thing. And like,
You don't think a
I
man will
feel
give
like,
you that?
well, when I meet one, I will. I think they will. I'm still waiting to meet that man, because here's my thing is I know I give a lot. Like my friends know I call my friends often to check up on them, and they do the same for me. So I like my pack that I have, we match each other's energy. Like, and if I ever feel like they're not, I may like be like, okay, like how we had spoken in the past of like any relationship is a two-way street. If I feel like I'm the only one reaching out, I may take a step back and just kind of like kind of make you miss me a little bit in any
So
relationship.
don't go
But
hard going in. Go in level.
I
Go
don't
at
know.
that
Love
level
us.
I
that
don't
you're able
know.
to grow and maintain. Don't go hard,
That's what
because
I'm trying to do.
that's when the disappointment kicks in. I know I'm a 10,
Yes.
and I'm like
100%.
talking to this guy now or whatever, possibly pursuing a relationship. I'm not like the other day he said the funniest thing. He's just like, our first couple of conversations, you told me you couldn't cook or whatever, but here you are in the kitchen like every other day creating something, and I jokingly said back to him, I can't give you everything on the first date. You haven't earned that. So I feel like
Yeah.
with relationships and
That's what
stuff,
I need
you
to
can't go,
learn
because then
though.
that
Yeah.
creates the most unreal. And then the moment the person sneezes incorrectly, you're like, I've done everything. Death to you. But really and truly, that's not how a relationship is supposed to grow. In essence, you're the love bomber, to be honest with you, because you're and
But I'm consistent. Love bombing is when all of a sudden that shit stops.
But then you said you're going to stop it when they don't match it. But you're not allowing them to get to your level. You're perfection. How do we expect them to be perfection when they come in? but then also be
Well, I
yourself.
mean, like,
But then also, like, you know, make mistakes. But then also, like, if I make mistakes, they're not real mistakes because I'm like the baddest forever and always. But then, like, no, you're confusing the living daylights out of them.
Well, and that's true. And then how do we balance out the having boundaries while also having an open heart and an open mind? Because obviously Carly's doing these things to protect herself,
Yes.
or she is just such a lover that she just meets someone she likes and she dives in and then pulls
so
back when she's just like, oh my god, and like, will they not like me?
this is literally, this is my problem. My problem is, if I'm interested in you, I'm going in. I'm going in. I'm diving in. I'm
It's hard.
there. But if I'm not 100% sure, I have you are climbing 100-foot wall to get, and I know it's not okay. I know this, Nadine. I see your eyes already. I have already acknowledged that this is not okay. And that's why today, like I said, I needed my perspective. I needed a perspective from my married friend, because she was like, Karlie, just chill, relax, let it, it's only been however many days. She's like, just relax. Like, you're overthinking this. And I'm like, I know, I just feel like I haven't felt this way for someone since my ex. And so to me, it's like exciting of like, oh my God, could I potentially feel like,
Well, how do you live in that, but then also again have the boundaries with the, like, instead of being like an extremist. And Jay Shetty talks about this all the time. But the problem with society as a whole is like we're extremists, that we feel like we have to go all the way left or all the way right, instead of like, okay, Karlie, live in these feelings of like, because you should. Being in love and like feeling like excited to see someone, that's like one of the best feelings in
It
the
is.
world.
It is. It's a
And
beautiful.
so it is. So like let yourself have those like la la land feelings, but maybe instead of expressing it to just him, I feel like if we spread it to our loved ones, our friends, our family, and let them have a little bit of that love that we're feeling, because that one person, what I've learned, cannot
100%.
handle all the
That's
love
what I was gonna say. That's why
that
you
I have
need.
in my heart.
Yes, it's too much. It's
I
too much.
I 100% agree with you, and that is what I'm working on, because I realize I do have a lot of love to give. I do. So I need to sprinkle that all over onto my friends, my loved ones, everywhere, because I 100% agree with what you're saying. And I know that and that's funny because my therapist talks about extremists, and like I went from one extreme, when I know this is part of a tribe, but I went from one extreme of giving my ex, doing everything for him, to now I'm at the total opposite extreme of like, well, you need to show me what you're going to do. And like, that's not healthy, you know? So it's like, I need to find that.
You go from like washing certain areas of his body for him. Nadine, do you remember us talking about that?
That's still a very, very disturbing topic for me.
And then Karlie,
I was in love, Nadine. I was in love.
I'm still disturbed about it. It took me days to come back from it. Yes, but as Devyn would so eloquently put it, you went from washing someone's area, and they weren't disabled in any shape, way, or form. For the record, they weren't disabled or anything like that. No, like he wasn't paralyzed or anything like that. She did this willingly, okay, happily. So for me, it's like, so, no. What we're not going to do is try to justify. No, we accepted your truth. You told me you're going to grow from this, right? Remember our conversation? You told me you weren't going to do it anymore, right?
And
you won't.
I have not.
But I mean, because it has to stop somewhere, Karlie. But as Devyn says, like,
and then she
I have grown from that experience. I don't do that
Okay.
anymore.
But she went from that to the extreme of like, why are you in my face?
That's what I'm saying. That's why I need to find this balance, because I was like, I did that. I ain't doing that.
For me, I think how I found it and how I am finding it, because it's daily for me, because you do get those fears and you do get those insecurities where it's just like, whoa, like what's happening right now? Is he trying to come into my life and take over everything? But in theory, I'm like, this is the normal progression when a person likes you. Sometimes a person likes you at different times more than you like them. Sometimes right now they're at a 10 and you might still be at a 6. It doesn't mean you don't like them. You have the potential to get up to that 10 to match them. But once more, we have traumas. I have traumas. You have traumas. So it takes us a little bit longer. But to hold that person or to love that person, I want to say less or in a diluted form. I don't think it's fair for that person, because once more, they're coming in with like a true heart. And all they want to do is just like, okay, like I found the girl that I like and I want to just give her everything. And for us, we're just like, what's your motive? What's your itinerary?
But you even said, Nadine, of like, you know, you're not supposed to compare, but if we weren't supposed to compare, then we wouldn't have our past
Correct.
memories. And I feel like when we compare like that, like for me, I'm comparing like, I don't want to relive that trauma, so I'm trying
but
to
not
like,
expect that you're going to go through the
know,
same experience. That's the
I
thing.
know.
That is the most important part, because like Nadine's going in with a fresh mind of like, okay, I'm aware of these things, so I'm going to let him earn me, versus like dive right in and then you get disappointed and you're just like, oh, I knew it. I knew he was going to do that to me. Like, you gave a boyfriend a husband budget.
Mechanism of you're rejecting someone before they reject
I
you.
think for me, I'm learning now, and even with him, and he's super, super, super open too, which is great as far as just like being honest and setting that tone. Even when something is like really difficult for us to say or whatever, and it's just like, okay, I could possibly like lose this person just sharing my truth. He has shared it with me and was just like, this is pretty much me. And I appreciate that 1000%, because honestly, for me, I feel like the first 90 days of any relationship is a lie, because everyone's on their best behavior. Everyone is, you know, being super pretty.
Probation period.
Everyone doesn't burp. Everyone doesn't do anything. Everyone's perfect, right? Karlie, you're the exception. We know. You burp at your first date. We know. Okay. You share traumas and you burp. We got you. Okay. No, we got it. But I'm saying, like, I appreciated that, you know, when he shared very, very tough topics or experiences with me, because a lot of people, they put that in a box because it's like, you know what, I don't know how this person is going to feel about this subject. Like, they stay away from the hard subjects, the abortions, the politics, or whatever, because they fear like telling you that too early gives you grounds to run. And for me, I'm like,
I literally dive in with those topics, so I guess I'm like totally.
Well,
it
like,
doesn't make
I
you
get
off.
what I agree.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make you off at all, but we have to create that safety net for them to feel vulnerable to share that, because it is very scary. Like when you like somebody and it's like that, like you tell them everything and then they ghost you. And it's like, damn, like what did I? So it could work too, like against you to be on 1000%. Because some guys are not ready for that. Some people in general, when we show up and we're just like, what the like, where did I go wrong? I thought this date was amazing. Like, I told him everything. I was amazing. I showed up on time. I shared every aspect. And he's like, well, you're just too much for me. And that hurts.
Yes, that's my fear, is like, I think I'm so used to this, to the dating now, that I'm like how we had talked about before of when I know that I like you and then I go all in, but then I'm like, I know I need to reel it back because I don't want to come off as too much. But
don't go in so you don't have to reel back. That's where you're causing yourself that issue. Don't go in on 10 and then have to come back to a 5, because then that person's going to notice that. And then they're going to start to question, like, hey, like, did I do something wrong? So don't go in at 10. Go in at 5, Karlie, and then progressively show them that, hey, by the way, I cook. By the way, I do this. By the way, like, baby step them into your greatness, as opposed to giving them all of the greatness and then taking it back because that's and of course Devyn could definitely like touch on that with kids. If you do that, it's not positive reinforcement. It's like negative reinforcement when you didn't like take it back from them like traumatically. Whereas like if you gave it to them in increments, it would be okay. But then when you just like, oh well, because you did this, I'm gonna just, it scars them. It really, really, really scars them. So, like, go in at like a 6. It doesn't mean you're a 6. You're a 10. But go in at a 6 and allow him to, you know, open you up.
Well, Nadine, through this journey, I'll have you be my dating coach. And I will just...
You know, I'm going to be available between the hours of 9 to 5, Monday through Wednesday. Okay?
I'm sorry. The main dating days are like Friday through Sunday.
You're gonna talk to her, and then you get mentally prepared for the weekend, and then because she can.
But then, what if I'm like, how do I respond?
You
see, this is the tribe that I need. Exhibit A of we need a tribe.
You can call me on those days. I will just send you an invoice. I will be there for you.
It's an extra cost.
It's just an extra cost.
What I love about It's Hard Being Human and how we all kind of mesh together is that we do at times come off as super opinionated. And I know I've had to
Mhm.
learn to be a 6 when I want to come in at a 10. And I'm not the best at always doing it, but I think it once you start to realize you care about people, or it's a pattern that you keep hurting people's feelings, or like, and you don't want to be that person, you have to realize like you can't, if you're getting to know another human being and you want them to feel comfortable with you, you have to start at the 6, and you have to not sound so opinionated. And that's like all of us have experienced that where we sound.
And sorry, I was gonna say, Devyn, a really good example that you made me think of is I have a friend who in the past she was going through like relationship issues, and she would call me to like vent. And one time when she was venting, I was like, like I kind of went in on the partner, and then afterwards she was like, when you do that, it makes me not feel comfortable talking to you. And it really, like, I was glad that she told me, because I was like, okay, I realize now that she just needs someone to vent to, and I need to hold my tongue and just be that friend for her right now to let her vent. And so then moving forward after all that, if she would call me to vent, I'd be like, what do you need from me? Do you want my opinion? And it's really helped, because then like if she says, yes, I want your opinion, then I'll let her know. And even then though, I'm going to tone it down a bit, because like when you see your friends hurting and you love them so much that you're like, man, screw that dude or whatever. But it's just because like for you, it's coming from such a deep place of love because you love your friend, but you have to remember they love that partner. So when you're talking down on that partner, it kind of hurts them too. So it really, like you said, we have these tough conversations with our friends. We're not perfect. And like that really made me remind myself of like, I need to turn it down a notch.
Yeah. And and that's the thing. You're lucky that that friend could vocalize that to you, because a lot of people, they would just either X you out or talk behind your back, or then in return. And it's hard because I think all of us go through that, where we're perceived as healers. And then if we come on too strong, it can ruin a person, and then they don't feel comfortable talking to us. And like that's not the purpose of what we want to, like, that's not the message we're trying to send. So,
and I've had to talk to Devyn about that multiple times, and I also had to learn that as well, because we both have very, very strong personalities. And I'm like, Devyn, oftentimes when people call you and they want to, they already know their answer. You have to help them get to their answer by following up with, like, sometimes our opinions don't matter. Sometimes it's best to be like, well, what do you think you should do in that situation? They know how to solve their own problems. They have to like go through it in order for them to grow through it. So I'm just like, for us, we're just so quick to be like, because we know how the story ends. We're just like, well, clearly if you cheat, that's not our story. That's their journey. And until they're ready to face that truth, like if we say that we're their friends, then we have to, help them get to that point. And sometimes when you don't want to tune in, 1000% be like, hey, I can't talk to you right now, because I know myself. Sometimes when I'm not in that receptive mindset where I am going to be able to coach you through it, I'm going to be like, hey, I can't talk to you right now for whatever reason, as opposed to scolding you, because I know my time. So
no, 100%.
So I know, like, okay, like right now, if I hear about this boy one more time, I'm going to block you. And I'm like, okay, hey, by the way, I'm doing laundry. I'll talk to you later or whatever.
Or just don't answer, or just don't even answer. Like sometimes that boundary is just not even answering the phone,
because you just can't, because at that time, if you say something, you're going to lose that friend, or that person's going to go in the opposite direction, because once you attack the person that they care about, they're going to then go closer to that person. So it's like the reverse effect.
Literally, that happened with me and Devyn back in the day when I first was dating my ex, and Devyn pretty much voiced that she did not like him. You know what that did? That made me run to him more, and I distanced myself from Devyn. And I remember I wouldn't call her as much. We didn't really like hang out as much, because that was my man, and I was going to marry him, and we were going to live together forever. And now I felt like I had to prove a point to Devyn to show her that that's my man. And of course I was venting to her or whatever, but then, her letting me know, like, hey, I'm not really like a fan of him. Yeah, she would just let me know she did not like him. And I was just like, skirt. And obviously on me too, I think, like,
and then years later,
when we go to our tribe.
Go ahead, finish what you're saying first.
Oh, I was just saying, like, when we go to our tribe, especially like about relationships, but anything in general, like if we're going to constantly vent, we have to realize we're putting that taste in our friend's mouth and they care about us. So if we're only going to vent to them about negative things, are they going to like our partner or whoever? No, they're not. So it's like you have to have that balance of like, you know, I think we're so like, we're not used to like, oh my God, he bought me flowers. Like that's like something that like we keep for us. But then if they piss you off, it's like, oh my God, he did this, this, this. And then that's all that they hear. And then, you know, if I'm going to Devyn and I'm just venting to her about the negative, she's going to let me know. And she did. But what did I do? I ran to him.
Because you weren't ready to hear that truth. You weren't ready to accept the truth. You knew the truth, but you weren't ready to accept it.
It took 5 years. It took 5 years.
And that happens later on. That happens with any person, friends, boy, girl, whomever, where we'll stay in a relationship longer than we should have stayed in that relationship because everyone else is telling us that we need to get out. We put up that defense and we defend the hell out of that person. Like, you just don't know them. They're a good person or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. When really and truly, if our village allowed us to get to that point, we would have ended that relationship a long time ago. But when they come at us at different times with just like, oh, he or she is trash, and they use those as opposed to being like, hey, when they said this to you, how did it make you feel? Because believe it or not, the person knows they're like those feelings are still raw. They can walk themselves through their breakup. I walked my little sister through a breakup without even telling her to break up with the guy. Like, hey, if he said this to you or whatever, and it made you feel like this, is that how you truly want to feel? And I let her, mind you, the entire time in my head, I'm like, he's a jerk, he's a jerk, he's a jerk. I hate him. Like, and I wanted her to like, remove him off the face of it. But it's not my story. And I'm like, in order for her to continue to come back to me, I have to be her safe zone where it's like, there's no judgment. I'm going to hold your hand no matter how long or painful it is for you to realize that this person is not your person. I'm going to be there for you and I'm going to be indifferent. And even when she came back and was like, oh my God, he's back in my life, we're great or whatever. Great, sis. If you like him, I love him. Until otherwise, if you like him, I love him because I'm here for you. And that's tough as fuck.
It's so mature of you because I feel like, granted, you're totally right. I definitely think if you want a healthy relationship with other human beings, that's how you should approach it. But I guess my thing, even with Karlie, was I know that I went through toxic relationships in my past and I wanted someone to smack the shit out of me and be like, hey, wake the F up. And everyone was kind of like more so, oh, okay, Devyn, let her do. So
But Devyn, you couldn't handle that.
Do you think if someone did that, would you have left?
I don't know. I think in the right moment. I don't think, definitely not, depending on what moment it was, because Karlie did have a wake up moment finally, but it took her getting to that moment. And, but
But I had to be ready for that. I think it built up. Like, I think if your family and friends would have come to you and said, Devyn, we don't like him. If you weren't ready at that moment to hear that, you would have latched onto him even longer. And who knows, maybe you would have even been with him even longer than what you did.
That's one possibility.
You had to have that wake-up.
That's true. But I don't like, or I appreciate, and I think that's what we all kind of come together is when people have those hard conversations with us, because then you have me looking stupid, which in that case, it's true. If I'm not going to receive it, if I'm not ready, but at the same time.
And going back to, there's a way to
deliver the
message. What you say, it's how you
deliver those. Yes, there's a way to deliver those conversations, to tone it, of like, even ask, like how Nadine said, of like asking like, hey, like, is that how you would want, like, it seems like that's like a continual thing. Like, is that how you see your relation? Like, wording it like that, so it just drops little seeds in their head, so they start thinking about it of like, I don't want my future to look like this, and it seems like this, and let them come to you. Because if you're just like, Devyn, I do not like this man, he is trash, get rid of him, I don't approve. What are you going to do? You're going to be like, well, screw you. This is my man, and I'm going to back my man.
Well, I hope that I have grown from that. Because honestly, like at a certain point though, like we all should be looking like people, our loved ones. If your loved ones don't like your person, that's a huge red flag. That's our bad if we keep doing those things over and over again.
And so I'll say, to me, I 100% agree with you that it's important for my loved ones, like my family, to like my spouse. And that's because I feel like I am close with my family. But I've had people, like partners in the past, who said they don't care what their family thinks and that their relationship is them and their person and not their family, which I can see that point of view too. But personally, for me, if my family doesn't like you, I don't think it would work, because I spend holidays, like, I'm close with my family. And, like, you know, they are too, but, like, I don't think I could go and bring my partner to my family's house knowing they don't approve of him and they don't like him. Like, I just
Well, when they say that they don't approve of him and or like don't like, because I know like a lot of people are tuning in and they want to know like what that means. Is that based off of just like, we don't like him, but we can't properly like
is your family coming from a healthy place
you,
expressing
like,
that?
like him because of, you know, A, B, and C, or it's just like, hey, Karlie, like, I just don't like the way like he comes off. Because a person, once more, like, not every first impression is the best impression.
Oh,
you know, family members can be critics, hardcore. And for me, my biggest thing with every family member is that I don't take advice from someone who either hasn't been married and or divorced, because opinions are like assholes. Everyone has them, and everyone's going to have their opinion about your particular loved one and how they perceived it based off of their trauma. I am not living off of your trauma. That was your trauma. God bless. This is my journey. So if you can tell me, hey, Nadine, I don't like him because he looks like he might be, you know, addicted to something or whatever, that's a concrete thing. And then I can go off of that and be like, okay, like, they're seeing something that I don't see. They're bringing something to my attention that could be a potential, like, now I can actually like look into that. But to be like, I just don't like him. I went through his like photos like on the gram, and like, you know, I just don't like him for you. Because for me, then F how family feels, because at the end of the day, once more, everyone has their traumas. Like, our parents, like, sometimes when we look at them, we're like, dude, as far as I'm concerned, like, I wouldn't pick like that, like, that's your spouse. Like, yeah, like I know that's your man, but I wouldn't have chosen. Like, God bless. Like, who's to say that their opinion is our fact? And I'm very critical about that.
No, I agree with you. And I'm not, I wouldn't, if they're just like, oh, I just don't like him, like, yeah, that's not valid. Like, you have to give me valid reasons. And like, after I had separated from my ex, my mom had told me that like her and my dad were very like concerned, like, that I was taking on the financial burden and things like that. But they never wanted to say that to me because they didn't want to, like, you know, cause issues. They were like, if that was what you had chosen, they're like, that's not our place to say something. But they were concerned, like, financially, that I was kind of taking that all on. And like, I know my one brother was like, and he never said anything, but I could tell, like, he had said something to me, but like, he would never, like, you know, again, like, that's your relationship. But I know he was like, you're like, there was one point where I like had tied my ex's shoe like early on, and my brother was like,
okay. Why?
Jesus, like, you need to go work at a preschool and take care of some babies or something.
Like, we're watching private parts.
I won't do this anymore.
Did you feed him? Did you hand feed him? Oh my God. What?
Oh, no. Actually, like, if we were driving or something, I would.
So we're hand feeding.
I am a good girlfriend.
That is not a good girlfriend. That is an enabler / companion. You should have gotten paid you every week for powdering his tush.
That was
every week. You're a caregiver. You kept him fresh.
And,
like, you kept him fresh. God bless.
She did. She really did. She made that man a better man. But and then how do we balance when you're a giver? How do you balance the takers of the world, because we have given so much?
You take a step back and you realize that, okay, like, once more, Karlie mentioned that before, match my energy. And also, it's just kind of like, you know, things go in increments. I tell Devyn all the time, like, now in this new chapter of my life, I'm not looking for microwave love, I'm looking for oven love. So it's just like, I'm not going to give you all these things that I think that, you know, like, okay, like, I have to like wake up at 4 a.m. to make you breakfast. Like, no, like, all those come at times or whatever, but don't overextend yourself. Like, create those boundaries where it's just kind of like, okay, I'm going to do this because I care about you or whatever. I'm going to do, but like, when it comes to the point where it's just kind of like, well, I think this is like, if he asks for it, or if he looks like, I'm just going to do it. Now you're compromising yourself, and that's not truly love. That's not truly being like, oh, I'm going all in. That's not going all in, because you don't even want to do it. You're doing it because you're in hope, like you're in search of that person being like, okay, I'm going to give you one more star. But really and truly, it gets to the point where you're degrading yourself, because it's like, okay, I'm doing all of these things. I am taking all of his responsibilities, all of his whatever, and I'm carrying that cross. But I'm like, even the Bible, everyone carries their own freaking cross. God does not tell you to love somebody more than you love yourself. He says, love others as you would love yourself. He never tells us that. But we go into every relationship like, oh my God, I'm going to really show him that I'm just going to love him to death. Why?
Yeah.
And I will say, to be honest, for me, I feel like how I balanced it with boundaries and everything was from getting my heart broken. Because in my past, I mean, bless us. It's awesome for those people who never have to go through that. But I feel like for me to learn, in my last relationship, I gave him everything. Obviously, just from the little things that you guys know. But I did all of those things that anything I would do. But then it got to a point to where I'm pouring into his cup and I don't even have anything left of my own. And I'm not getting anything in return because he's just taking, and I'm giving because I am a giver. And so now I do have these boundaries and that's where I'm trying to find that balance, because it went from one extreme to now I'm at this other extreme of whoa, I'm not going to give you that because I did that before. And I know that's not healthy going into it that way. And that's why I'm trying to find that balance.
Ask you a question, a tough question. We always say that we give and give and give and give to broken people. We like to find broken people and we like to give and give and give and think that, we're going to make, but is that truly a reflection of us being beyond broken? Because if we're giving, and we're like, well, I'm giving this person everything and pretty much in search of validation from this person, could that be because we lack something in our past? Could that be a past trauma that we're now trying to, overly love this person because someone didn't love us as much? I know for sure,
I think so, because he was my first relationship, and I think I wanted to have that love, that grand love. And I was looking for that, to be loved in return, because I hadn't in the past. I'd never had a relationship in the past. So it was I didn't even know, what it was like, I guess, to be in a relationship and to receive that love. And I wanted it. So I was going to give you everything so that I could get it. But it was this toxic, constantly, I was chasing you, and he would give me little crumbs. And it was enough for me. But then it got to a point to where I was getting older and I'm this isn't enough for me anymore. This isn't what I want. And that's when I realized okay, I don't want to just be, in the beginning I was satisfied with getting little crumbs here and there, and I would continue chasing, obviously, for a while. And then it got to a point to where I was all right, these crumbs are not satisfying.
But do you think it's because you didn't think that you were worthy of love, or because you didn't know what love was?
Probably a little bit of both, because I feel in high school, I would have crushes and stuff, but I felt my friends were the pretty ones, and they were the ones that got the boyfriends. But it also was I was scared to put myself out there, because I would rather reject you before you reject me, because, so yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that I'm still working on, of for me, I feel it's my friends are the pretty ones. And I don't that's just something that I put in my head that
that
is not healthy.
Bad bitch. And that is bottom line. All I have to say. And I think for women, it's our confidence is the most important thing in any relationship, whether it be with your parents, your spouse, because I hear married women talk about this all the time, and just how hard it is. If we can't hold boundaries now while we're single, and we still have a say so of who's going to come into our life and who's going to be a partner to us. But these married women have to go through seasons with these men. And if you don't keep your confidence in check and think that you're worthy, your marriage is going to be something either you enjoy, or it's going to be something that is misery, and misery loves company, and yet you're not going to have fun.
And I think that's why it's important that you surround yourself with a village that cheers you on, because I think in the society that we live in, everything is built to not break down a woman, makeup culture, models, everything. I feel
skincare, the fact that I watched some, these bitches are doing a 14-step skincare routine just to love yourself.
But then you see these women with like these great curves, a big butt, big boobs, little waist, or
If you're
or like
talking
the
about me,
clothing.
like, it's okay. It's okay. Okay. I will receive it and love it. But go ahead.
Nadine, you
I
caught
did.
it.
I did.
But I think that's why it's so important that we have a village that cheers us on, because I think it's so easy for a woman to lack confidence in this society because they tell you you need to have makeup to be pretty. You need to get a boob or a butt lift to be pretty. Like, they don't tell you that your authentic self is beautiful, but at the end of the day, it is, and that is plenty enough. And I do think that, like, we're slowly getting to that point. Like, I think the newer generations, like, they're kind of like, no, I'm gonna do what I want, but it's still there. It's still there, and it's so hard to not compare yourself to another woman, because I think, like,
compare and not compete. I'm not a competitive person, and I had to realize, someone's trying to compete with me. Like, girl, you can win, I can win. But it took me realizing, because I'm not competitive, and then all of a sudden realizing, this chick is hating on me. Like, she's competing with me in a race I don't know I'm in.
So, Devyn got blocked in a race that she didn't even know she was racing. She got blocked. The poor thing called me and told me, "Hey, I'm blocked," and I'm just like, "I'm sorry. I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't even know why they blocked you." And
that's just one occasion.
That's one occasion.
And I think that's because the men make women also feel insecure and feel like they're not of substance enough. And so then we start, like, instead of going to the target of the man and being like, okay, then I'm not for you, we go to the women around that we think he's giving more attention to and be like, don't talk to my man. You know what? If you're even worrying about that, remove
exactly. He is for the streets. He is for the streets. He is not for you. God bless. Bye.
Yes, and I will, like, I say that now, but, like, again, another thing in my past relationship is, like, we would be out in public and I'd be like trying to talk to him, and I'd look and I'm like, you know how bad that makes a woman feel when I'm trying to talk to you and I look and you're gazing your eyes at another, like, that makes me feel insecure. It makes me feel like I'm not enough. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to compare. I never went to, like, other women, but I was just like, it's just not okay. It's just not okay.
Kill him in his sleep. I would smother him with a pillow. I would eat my dinner happily and smile and be graceful. And then when we got home, it's a 30-day killing process, because what I'm not going to do is feel like I'm less than.
Oh, and I'm going to ghost you.
And it really affects your self-esteem, though.
But then,
like, that's
honestly, I think, like, us right now, like, at 30, like, we can identify that quick and be like, yeah, no, I'm not going to tolerate, like, this is not my story. I've seen this before. I'm not going to do it. But, of course, the younger viewers, of course, that are watching us, they don't understand that is a real thing that women face all day long. And for me, with my little sisters, I tell them all the time, you are the prize. And it's not in an arrogant way. It's in a confident way. Like, you are the prize. Don't be arrogant.
Well, because we're all prizes. But
for the right person.
Winner.
For the right person.
Yes.
And it's just like, I have been with a lot of, a lot of alpha males have approached me, and it's always like, you know what, you're too much or whatever. And it's just like, I'm not that. It's just, you're too little. Or like, my love and my everything is just too much for you because you're not in that season. I have learned to forgive myself and be like, hey, that person, they don't hate you. You're not too much. It's just in the season of their life that they're in, they're not able to reciprocate that. Like, they're not, like, able to be that stable person for you. So instead of saying those actual words like, hey, I see that you have your shit together. You know, if I came into your life right now, I wouldn't be an asset. I would be more or less a liability. I'm going to respectfully step aside and allow you to continue to grow. They turned around and like, you're too extreme. You're too extra. You're too this. You're too whatever. Once more, all like using tough words to break us down. And we have to be able to identify that quickly and be like, whoa, I'm going to go through my head. I wasn't any of those things. Those are your insecurities. Don't push your insecurities onto me, sir. Enjoy your day. Goodbye. And cut it off there, as opposed to us climbing this ladder of like, when they tell us that we're not enough, we're climbing this ladder, but really and truly, they're the damaged ones. They can't step up to the plate. So when a person can't step up to the plate, they tell you that you're not good enough, as opposed to saying, no.
Because they're projecting their insecurities
and I
to you.
learned that.
But yeah, because like you said, when you're young, you know, because I was like 21 when I had met my ex, so I'm young, I'm in love, and so I'm like, this is my forever man, and so it does, you know, it breaks you down, and then you have to, you know, kind of realize this isn't me, this is you, this is insecurities that you have with yourself, and then you need to remove yourself from the situation.
More when we bring it back, and it takes the right village around you. Because if you have, and I'm sorry, I've seen these like quotes everywhere. It's like, show me who your friends are, and I'll show you where the next 5 years of your life will be. Like, you are the people that you keep around you. I used to hate my mom used to say that, but it is so true. If you keep toxic women around you, that's what you exude. Like, so the fact that it's like, okay, like now we are that for each other, and it goes back to that village thing where it's just like, okay, if I'm thinking this way, I can call Devyn, and I can count on her to give me realistic advice, as opposed to like, oh my God, girl, he did this or whatever. You have one girl from a toxic friendship that'll be like, go burn his house down, right? And then you'll have another grounded one that knows your heart, knows like what to say, and knows that you're just speaking to them from a hurt place, and they'll be like, okay, well, let's talk through these feelings, like let's go through them because a lot of relationships are broken because we do have those toxic extreme friends that are just like, oh, he didn't answer your phone call, he's cheating. Mind you, the poor boy could be sleeping. Yeah. But that friend, once more, their insecurities, they're projecting them off on you, or their toxicity, they're projecting that off on you, and it puts you in a bad headspace. So it really does matter who you keep around you, because Devyn has called me several times, and I've called her with my insecurities, like, oh my God, do you think he's doing this? And she's just like, sis, go run with the dog, go do whatever. It's not even that serious. And that has calmed me down. But had I called another friend, she'd have been like, go climb up in his window. I guarantee you there's a hole in there. Knock his door down, and I'll be there in 5 minutes. And it's just like, you know, like you really have to monitor your village and do a self-cleaning. Go through your village
Yes.
yearly. And I know, like, prior to us like hopping on, Devyn read our devotional, but you have to cut ties. You really do. People think it's a bad thing, like you hate them. No, you really have to.
It was that season.
Yeah.
No, and I think
because they no longer fit where you are in your life. It's not personal. It just is what it is.
And I think going back to like, even it takes a village. Like if men, like we're all on here, like men and women are supposed to coexist together. And like, you just not only need good female friends, you need to have the right male friends around you, because obviously women care so much. Like the role a man plays in the world and in your village can determine how you follow through with other relationships with men.
Right.
And so if you don't keep healthy men around as well, like we in high school, middle school is so hard for everyone. We really need to have a class on like boundaries for women and how to coexist, female and male, like coexistence, because it really is like, why do so many of us have like, first of all, how many married people I know that don't want to be married, or they go through struggles.
Hate their significant other. If they could choke, they probably, like every meal that this person has, they hope they choke on a bone.
We know some that's to the extreme. And then others who are just like, oh, this is like, you know, this is not what I was expecting marriage to be or life to be. And then they struggle with boundaries and and all sorts of things. I wish in this, it takes a village, we just learned how to at such a young age. And that's why it is hard for me to watch when I like, what is Karlie, for example, that what we talked about earlier, me making sure that I told you at the right time that, hey, I don't like your boyfriend. He sucks. He's shitty. We could go on and on. But at that right moment, you weren't able to handle that information. But what's a rite of passage for people? And then what is something that you can almost prevent people from going through? You know, how do you find that balance?
So, I will say, I remember when you first told me and you kind of went in and you were like, I don't like him, like da-da-da. And like, it did take me off guard, and then I became defensive, and that's why. But then I know you know this, but then the second time, which this was years later, when you were just like, Karlie, like you're such a light to this world and I don't want anyone dimming your light. You were very vague about it, but I knew exactly who and what you were talking about, and that stuck in my head more.
So it's Devyn's approach. And see, that was my training.
It was how you approached.
That was my training. I'm gonna
that was my emotional hot mess, Karlie. I tell you all.
That was my training. because that was my training, by the way, but you can send me some money later because
like I can literally remember we were walking to get mail. We were right by, like I can remember it all because it was just such like a like pivotal moment. And you didn't even say any names. You just were like, Karlie, you're such a light and I don't want anyone dimming your light. And I, like, and it was just like, I knew exactly what you were saying to me, but you said it in a way that I could receive it and digest it and realize it. And I feel like that was kind of like the beginning of like, and then just little things started adding. And that was a seed that you planted and little things started adding on. And then I was like, I'm not happy. And then I would be like picturing a future and I'd picture him propose and I couldn't say yes. And then I feel like that was a really big like moment for me. And it just kind of like snowballed from that, of like you putting that in my head of like, I am a light and I've realized I don't feel that way anymore. And this is why.
And that's a huge, like that's the start. If you start to feel like you're dimming a light for somebody, and a friend, mother, father, cousin, boyfriend, husband, whoever, like you need to start evaluating, okay, what's going on here? And is this person allowed to be in my tribe for 2023? And
or the month.
Or the month.
Every month. Your body and your brain like you have certain like sensors and stuff that goes off. Like your gut instinct is your best instinct. If your gut keeps reminding you that this person is not right to be in your life, stop second guess. That's God talking to you. And then it's just like, for me, I know forever, for like a year, I would pray to God about this one individual. I'm like, God, why can't I make it work with this one individual? And I felt like he was looking down at me like, listen, idiot, I have shown you every sign. I've shown you every type of way that this person has violated you. Like, what more do you want? Like, I'm putting all of the steps and you're ignoring it because all you want to do is you want to stay in your comfort zone. Like, no one likes to break up with anyone. But I like, at the end of the day, I could never be like, oh, like, I didn't see all the signs. The signs were in front of me. I just didn't want to do the hard thing. And the hard thing is I wasn't ready. And sometimes you just have to rip it. Like, you will cry. I'm okay with being sad. I can be sad for a whole year and be like, damn, I miss that friend. I miss that situation. But I have to have that conviction where it's just like, that is not the right person to be in my life. If and when they reassess themselves, reinvent themselves, or become a better version that fits my current version, we can revisit that. But at this present moment in time, I have to hold myself in the highest standard because in order for me to get here, I can't mess with you if you're here. And it's not personal. It's just, I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Okay with letting people like hate you.
I'm not okay with disappointing myself.
And like in letting go, I think one of the hardest things is just letting go of that attachment that you build. It's not even so much of the person, but the attachment and like the idea that you had built up. Because like for me,
oh man, I made up a whole scene.
I know, and that's like literally that's my hardest thing because like I'll go to my therapist all the time and I'm like, and she was like, Karlie, like you were lonely with him, and what you're missing is the picture that you created of who he was. You don't miss him. You miss the idea that you had created and the life that you had created of what it was supposed to be and but like when I would go to her, like recently, I was like, I just feel like lonely. And like, she was like, I just want to stop you and remind you that you were lonely with him. And it's like better to be lonely and alone than coming home and feeling so lonely with a partner. Like,
I don't know how people do that all the time where I hear women that like, I've had friends in my life that like would want to go out for extra, like, I'd be like, dude, like, why wouldn't you want to go home to your significant other? And it's just like, they don't want to say the words, but you can kind of be, so I'm like, dude, all I want to do if I was in a relationship, that's the person I want to be around all day long. Like, like not to that extreme, but you get what I'm saying. Like, I want to rush home to my husband and my kids or whatever. And so many times I would meet people that would add events to the day where it's just like, they really just don't want to go home. And I'm just like, dude, that's like, you. So really and truly the moment you walk through that door, you're so lonely. Like you get a lot of your engagement and stimulation elsewhere. But the moment you walk through that door, the place that you're supposed to call home is not a home, it's a house.
And like it, honestly, I feel like I would never wish that feeling on like anyone, because it is such a like, you know, like I can remember coming home and walking through the door and like not even being greeted, not even being acknowledged.
Stayed in the car for hours because I didn't want to come inside. And when he would call me, my ex-husband, I'd be like, oh, you know, like I'm just talking to like a client or whatever, just because I didn't want to go upstairs. Like I didn't want to be in the coldness. Because I'm just like, I know like you don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be in here anymore, but neither of us is just like willing to say the tough words. So we're just going to pretend to be like, and I'm like, there's so many days where I'm just like, dude, why am I sitting in this car? I'm probably going to die of like carbon monoxide soon, but I'm sitting in this car because I don't want to go upstairs and pretend to like you.
I can't. Yeah. I once I get to that point,
I can't do it anymore.
Well, I think once you've experienced that, or hopefully if you're trying to evolve as a human, that you feel that and you never want to feel that again. Ever.
Never.
It is
ever,
so,
ever.
It is lonely when you realize. So,
yeah.
And then lonely, you can't date other people. Like, that's the thing. Like, the worst thing you could ever do to me is for me to be lonely in a relationship. So like, now I have to stay faithful to you and be sad?
Yeah. No.
And that's the thing is, like, I feel like I can say all three of us are very loyal. But like for me, I know I'm very loyal in a relationship, and I won't even, you know, no way I'm even in any shape or form could you potentially like say that I've stepped out, because that's not me. I am devoted once I'm in that relationship. So I feel like that makes it even more isolating.
I'm so mad about
yes.
So I have created a way to reassess. Like, okay, because we're so
never
devoted,
put them on social.
Because we're so devoted, I've adopted this premise. Okay, hear me out, ladies. We're so devoted, we give like these guys are everything, right? Once they stop meeting our expectation, and I'm not saying by like, you know, a few points or whatever. I'm one that's like, I love the 80-20 rule. Once they stop meeting us to that degree, we cut ties, and we don't cut ties in a way, because I tell Devyn all the time, it's like sometimes like when we say like it's over, it's hard for us to grasp that reality. In our minds as human beings, it's okay for us to say like, you know what? In this week or this month or whatever, we're just not mixing well together. You go do you, I'm going to go do me. So we don't miss out, because just like you said, because we're so loyal, we will stay in a bad relationship for years, reassessing and trying to make it work, when really and truly, we probably should have been like, hey, let's take a quick break so we can hop right back on our roster and reassess and continue to reassess, not because we're any type of anything, but it's just like at that time, like sometimes a person has to lose you in order to realize your worth. So we need to set those.
But sometimes that's too
late. Of course, it's always too late
for
a woman. We tell guys that all the time. When we're done, it's not like, hey,
we're
try
done
again. I tell people all the time, friends, guys, whatever, when I break up with you, just know that I've been breaking up with you for the last 12 months. It's not that point in time. I've been breaking up with you systematically, you know? So when you think that it's over,
you've been detaching. Like,
so like if I used to call you 7 times a day, I start to call you 5 and then 4 and then 3 and then I text. So like all these things are systematic. That helps me detach myself from you. So the day that I build the courage to be like, hey, it's not me, it's you, please leave. That's not the day that I break up with you. It doesn't mean try harder. It means that you lost 12 months of trying. And now, because you didn't notice the subtle signs of 7 calls a day to 5 calls a day to 2 to a text message, you now lost the person. It's okay.
Yeah, you showed me where you were at, and you were not at the level that I was, and so now I need to remove myself from the situation.
You were numb to the situation. So I can't be with the person that's numb. Right now, if I don't hear from Devyn in like a day, I'm going to reach out and be like, hey, what's going on? Are you alive or whatever? If you have a guy in your life that doesn't realize that, hey, Devyn used to call me 7 times. She used to like send me like cute text messages. Now it's down to 1. Could there be something, like you really have people that are so absent-minded or take us for granted that they choose not to see those signs. And then when we're just like, oh, it's over. Oh my God, why?
But that goes back to like matching the energy, you know, like, and like maybe they'll match it in the beginning, or maybe they didn't even match in the beginning, but we were just so infatuated that we let it slide. And then when we level out, we're like, whoa, like we're, you know, doing a lot. Because like, I'll say like, even again with there were so many signs from the very beginning for me. I get it. But yeah, and I remember I was in love immediately, head over heels. And I remember he would tell me, it was like 3 months in, and I was like, hey, what are we doing? Like, da da da. And he was like, oh, I don't want a relationship, but I want it. And that moment, I should have said, you know what? I respect that. I'm going to remove myself. But in my little head, I was like, cool, I'll be your friend, but I'm going to show you you do want a relationship with me. You know, my little
That's the hard, yeah,
mind.
that's the hard part because you were up for the adventure. Like I knew with one of
I
my
was.
exes, I knew from the moment I met him, I was like, my heart is gonna get broken, but I'm up for this adventure to see what, like I thought that at that moment it was worth seeing where it went. And I support that. I think women, if you close off,
But I'll say I thought I was going, not so much as I knew my heart was going to get broken. I thought I was going to change him and
mm,
show him that he did want a relationship with me and that I was worthy. And like, you know, we were together for like 5-ish years, and it took like us, after we had broke up, that's when, you know, 9 months later or whenever it was, he reached back out and was like, you know, I think about you every single day. Like but it was like at that point, it's too late. You've already built up all of this hurt of five
we've
years
already
to me.
shown.
Why didn't you realize my worth when you had me for 5
Well, I
Mm,
don't even
years? You know, it
honestly at
wasn't
that
like,
time, and I tell like Devin this all the time. I don't think at that point in time they even realize your worth. They realize your absence.
no.
It's the familiarity where it's just like I'm used to
Yep.
this person catering to me all the time, putting my needs first. You were a
Absolutely.
fucking 20, doing things that a normal person wouldn't do, doing things that an abnormal person wouldn't do. Of course, he's going to miss your absence because it's like,
yeah,
who
you're
the fuck is
fucking
gonna wash his
wonderful.
balls now? Like, honestly, sorry,
He's gonna miss you forever, ever,
forever, okay?
Forever,
No,
ever.
forever,
nobody's
ever.
gonna watch them like you, okay? You're like you're it. You're the MVP. So obviously, when they go and they think like the grass is greener on the other side, and they talk to like 2 or 3 other girls, and they're just like, "Wait, what? Like you think that I'm gonna like tolerate something? Like, who are you living for me?
You
Like,
don't do that. Oh,
like,
we find where's my
like, no, who ruined you? Not me. Like, go back to them. That's when they realize our absence.
yes.
And unfortunately, when some women take them back, I don't honestly think that person realizes your worth. I think they realize your absence, and then
Yeah.
they go in with the wrong premise because now it's just like it's not that I love you or that I realize that, you know, I was a shitty person to you. It's like, damn, I realize that all the things that you did for me, no one's going to do it for me. So I kind of still need that caregiver back in my life. So I'm going to do that. So we have to be able, no, it's tough.
I need someone to
Yeah,
No, it's tough
he
because
loves it when
I've gone
we
through
reach
that
his balls.
where I've gone through that where it's just like, you know, like guys come back and they're just like, damn, Nadine, like you were perfect and all this stuff or whatever. But they don't come back in, and it took me a while to realize, like, they don't come back in with the right intentions. They come back in because I'm a familiar place, and I was that person that did everything
Yeah,
for
they
them.
didn't fix themselves, and then
They didn't fix themselves.
yeah,
Devin just nailed it. They never fix themselves. They just miss our presence. They miss what we brought to the table, yet they never, and even if we let them back in, they will never rise to the occasion. So they've never fixed that they're the problem. They just like the fact of having us.
yes, and that we're
Yeah.
super accommodating. So now
Yep.
we should put up with their bad
Mhm.
behaviors. But I always like when Nadine says about like once you sit at the table and you show me what you're offering, I have to believe you. And I have to let you like,
Yeah.
okay, if that's what you're offering, and this was your chance to sit at the table with
And then
me.
that's how you make your
Yeah,
decision.
you had a chance with me, and now this is I know now what will happen if I give you a chance. I'm not sitting at that table anymore. I'm gonna be like, ma'am, excuse me, can you
Yeah.
move me to table two?
Respectfully, I'm gonna get up. Respect because I know
Yeah,
that you bring
Yeah.
nothing to the table. And
yeah.
and that's why like I was
Mhm.
talking to Devin like probably like a couple of weeks ago and we're just like, dude, why do men run the world? And like because and we were like joking about it, but because they have such conviction. If you and I test this theory, Karlie, literally the other day, he was sitting on the couch and I asked him, I'm just like, hey, if a girl didn't give you head, no matter how good of a person she was, would you still be with her? He looked me straight in the eye and said no. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so you're willing to throw away like a beautiful person with everything else? He's like, yeah, no, that's a deal breaker for me. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with girls? Why the fuck don't we have this conviction?
But will he do that? Will he return that energy?
No. I'm
That's
just
my
showing you how much we tolerate before we realize
Yeah.
that
Oh,
person's shitty.
exactly.
Whereas guys, it's like if you don't meet this threshold, you're gone.
Yeah.
Forget if you were the wife.
We let it
Yeah,
build up, and we
we
allow
allow it.
things, and we
Our
tolerate
cup
Nadine,
it.
gets tipped over.
yes.
And we're
Yep.
just like, okay, well, maybe, possibly, someday, could be. With them, they're just
Yeah.
like, I don't like the way your hair looks
Nope.
anymore.
Yeah.
Get out.
Well, Devyn, me and you had that conversation just
Yeah.
like 2
My-
weeks ago or whatever of like, why do we like think of so many
Yeah.
excuses to like tell someone
Yeah.
no, but a man will be like,
Yeah.
no. And
Yep.
that's it. You know, we need to also come with that
100%.
energy. Like, we don't need to explain
100%.
ourselves. If we say no,
It's
it's no. And that's
It's a no.
enough. I don't need to give you an explanation. It's no.
I was thinking
Stick
that's
by our convictions.
Yes.
Stick by, because as soon as we tell them what our hard no's are, don't deviate from that. If my personally
you
my
mean,
hard no
what you
is
say.
like, don't cheat on me. If you want to be in a relationship with me, don't cheat on me. And I say that to every guy I talk to, because I know personally I can't come back from cheating, because then you're gonna make me go through self-doubt, and I don't want to go through that.
But if you say that that's a hard no, and then you allow
Correct. Then
it,
it's not a hard no.
they're going to start going all off and try, you know, your other hard no's. So that's like that hard boundary of like, this is a no. And you as hard as it may be, if you love that man, you need to stick to that.
You have to, because then you wouldn't be able to, like, the version of yourself that they're going to get after they violate that hard no is not even a version that they're going to even like love. And it's like, we can say that, okay, like, we're going to forgive or whatever, but we're going to always go back to that because it was a hard no. Yeah. And it's like, I'm not willing to hurt and or disappoint myself in order to make you feel okay. So if it's a hard no for me, I'm okay with crying in the closet for the next 6 months alone. I'm not okay with having you lay next to me when I know that you violated something that was so sacred to me. And just because, you know, I want that companionship, I'm going to let you like lay next to me and like tell myself all day long, like, well, maybe he slipped into her vagina. Maybe, you know, no.
We have to respect ourselves enough and walk away.
Well, and that's why I hope this podcast makes women realize, and having these conversations within their friend groups and realizing when they evaluate if their village is like up to par, because this is what it takes, having these hard conversations. Because again, like taking it out of the like a male playbook, we were going back to when we say no, we say no. But women have been taught to like, okay, well, you know, you have to accommodate this person now. So now I have to bend, I have to people please this person. I have to be polite. I have to be a good girl. Like, so we constantly are talking ourselves into like, okay, I need 12 reasons and a man only needs one. Like I was going back to that example, my friend was literally, I was like, you know, I had a job interview and I was just like thinking of all these reasons why I didn't want this job or why it wouldn't be good, because I was scared he was going to come at me and say like, why wouldn't you take the job, da da da. So I'm thinking of a list of literally like 12 different things to tell him, and he was just like, you had me at the first reason. And I was like, damn, I overthought that so much. And so if I would just maybe in those cases act like a man and be like, I'm putting my foot down here.
There's
no other 12-step process.
Think like a man, act like a woman. It goes back to Steve Harvey.
And I think that like I was gonna say we were saying something and I had something.
Where's your notepad, Karlie? This is why you're imperfectly
I know. Well, no, because Devyn had said like making the list. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Is like, and that's why I think sometimes people say we come off so strong and you know, too much, quote unquote, sometimes. But I think it's because we stand by our values and we're not going to tit for people because of certain things, you know? So yeah, if that makes me come off strong because, oh, you know, gave me your puppy dog eyes, and my answer is still no. Sorry.
Because what I have learned I have been a preschool teacher most of my life. I've worked around children most of my life. So I've had to be a role model in a lot of situations. And some would say I'm not a great role model. Others would say they freaking love me. So it just, you know, it depends on who you ask. But overall, we are role models, no matter whether you want to take that responsibility or not. What we each do in our relationships, that's going to determine how Karlie feels about her relationships. That's going to determine how Nadine feels, how I feel, because now my friends are leveling up. Oh, okay. Well, I can't just sit here and keep complaining about Billy Bob if like my friends are growing. Like I want to keep up with that pace. And I think we all need to, like, if we don't realize that we are all role models, then we are going to continue to fail women our friends, our mothers, our girlfriends, whoever we interact with in life, we're going to keep disappointing each other if we don't start leveling up
Mm-hmm.
and making men kind of raise up a little bit. Because
Well,
what
not
happened
even
to
raise up, Deb. This is what they were designed to do. No
yes,
pain, no
yes,
gain.
this is
I've
true.
had guys tell me all the time, like, they love a woman with confidence. Like, they love the fact that you stand for something. It's the weak ones, once more, the broken ones that have that issue. But the ones that know what they want, they don't want a blow up doll. They don't want somebody that's going to yes about it. They want somebody that's going to respectfully be like, hey, this is what I stand for. This is what I'll do. Like, this is what I like. These are my convictions. If you match them, we can have a beautiful life together. You know, we can grow together. Like, I don't mind taking my role as a woman. I tell them this all the time. You think we want to be alphas all day? We're tired as fuck as being alphas. We don't want to be like.
Did I not just send Devyn an Instagram post that said like weak men create masculine women? And if that did not read to me more, and I think it's because I'm sorry, but the bare minimum does not impress me, because you know what? I do that for me. I don't need you to, that's nothing to me. I need to, you know, like, I think it's like, I know what I can bring to the table. And I don't even mean like material wise. I mean like quality time, like those kind of things. I know what I bring. And I feel like when we have to step up and kind of get into that masculine energy, you're not doing anything for me. You're not protecting me. You're not making me feel safe. None of that. Emotionally, physically.
Well, that makes me wonder, are there enough high value women in the world? Like, are there enough women who are stepping into their power and being like, hey, this is what you have
I think they know how to step into their power. I think they almost have to do once more a brainwashing up, once more cleaning out their friend circle and
their village
and understanding what that word means, that you are who you surround yourself with. And then they can actually realize it, because men will fall in line. Like, all the time, men will fall. We're the prize. My ex-husband used to tell me all the time, and he used to make me think and like laugh. Like, one time he was like, Nadine, why do you think we get fancy cars? Why do you think we go to the gym? Why do you think we'll pay $80 to get into a club? It's not to dance with with each other. It's because we want to impress you. We'll spend $200, $300, $400 on drinks for you guys. He's like, you guys get in free. We have to pay. Like, you're the fucking prize if you don't get it. We do all these things for your attention. We're willing to.
Yeah, but they have found women who they don't need to do that for, and they'll still get what they want. Are broken, you know,
and that's okay.
But that's our job as a high value woman to be like, okay, this person's trying to hang out with them low frequencies.
I agree, but I think that with and I brought this up to you, Devyn, is I think dating apps have made it a lot harder because, okay, I have a high value woman in front of me. She's great, but she's requiring me, and I say requiring loosely, but she's requiring these things to access her because she's high value. Or I can hop on Bumble, Hinge, Tinder, whatever, swipe right or whatever on a low value, and I could get what I want tonight, not having to do anything. And I think that's where dating apps have caused so much issue and incongruence and makes it very difficult.
It does.
Because there are some men who don't want to rise up to the occasion.
But you know what? It's okay for those men. It does and it doesn't, because it separates the men that just want to play from the men that actually, because at this age, like, honest to God, a lot of the guys that do reach out to me on Hinge, they're not into playing crackhead games anymore. They actually want a house. Like, they don't want to pass their dicks out to the world anymore. Like, they're tired. They know that they can have a girl Monday through Friday. Like, they know that. Okay. Yeah. But at this point, I feel
like, okay, then for me at 28, I'm still at that, like,
well, it depends on what you entertain, though. You know?
Right. Well, exactly, and that's why I'm dry. I'm dry right now, girl. Because I'm not entertaining. And then that's when it leads to, like, dang, this is kind of lonely. And so I'm like, I've gotten off of the dating apps because I've realized, like, I was going on them just for, like, seeking validation. But then at the end of the day, it made it worse because I'm realizing it's not doing what, you know, it's just kind of making things worse of, like, realizing, like, oh, this is what's, you know, the options are. And then, like, when I do present,
it can go down a deep rabbit hole.
Yeah, and then when I present my high valueness, it's like, oh, they're not, you know. So it's a whole cycle.
But it's
I
okay
think,
though. We have to tell ourselves it's
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Like that's once more that's their
Mm-hmm.
insecurities. Like if I go out with you on a date or whatever, and based off of my conversation, you don't feel like I'm able, like you can attain me. It's okay if you bow out. Actually, I'm happy that you bow out at this early stage, as opposed to pretending to be
Yes.
something that you're not. You know what I mean? Like I'm okay with that. For me, it's just like at this point and at this stage in our lives, it's just guys, and I know this because I've talked to guys that actually have a plan and guys that just want to play. And it's the ones that are broken, that don't have any self-esteem, that are just like, you know what, I know that I want to lay next to one person every night, but I don't pretend like, you know, like I want to be this playboy. Like, no, you're going to be the 80-year-old at the bar that does not fit because you don't want to go and be with another 80-year-old that you could travel with and be a normal fucking person with. That's your insecurities. That's your, like,
Mm-hmm.
you feeling like you're less than a man, that you can't measure up. You can't, because I've had guys tell me, and I've told Devyn, you know, well, recently I'm finally now talking to somebody that could actually like handle my conversation. But I've had guys tell me, "Oh my God, like you have just too much energy in you, and you just have so much," and it's like, or you just may not have enough to say. Like, let's not turn around and be like, I'm too much. Maybe you're too little in comparison. Maybe like you went into the Louis Vuitton store with a Coach budget. Let's not play these crackhead games. Like you can go through like, and I'm like, I'm not being arrogant, but like they'll go after beautiful girls like us. And it's just like, you don't measure up. We give you the time of the day. And it's just like, oh, well, you're too much. No, you're too little. You went window shopping for something that you could never afford. And then when you realize that you couldn't afford it and that we weren't going to like go on sale, now you
Well, it's like, I think they don't want to put the work in. You know, I think it's more of like not wanting to put that work in. Because like for me, and this is what I'm like, am I asking too much? Like for me, I feel like if I were to like talk to a guy or something, I want them to plan the first date. I want them to put that initiative in, because then it's like, oh, okay, like, but I feel like that, I don't know if it's just like that's not common or what.
Do you say those words?
What? I say like, let me know when and where, like, you schedule it and let me know. But I don't like that last minute thing either of like,
well, then if you okay, don't like it,
tonight.
Don't tolerate it. If they call you,
no, and that's why
she's dry.
When me and you had talked, and exactly, that's why I'm dry. But I know when me and you had talked like a couple weeks ago, and you said something of like, you could reply and say, oh, that sounds really nice. However, I would appreciate a plan. And I did that because I had someone hit me up and he was like, hey, let's work out tonight. And I was like, hey, working out sounds really good. However, I need a couple days in advance of like this being planned out so that I can make sure that I'm available. Or I said something like that. And then you know what? I didn't hear from him.
Because he didn't want to work out. He wanted to work out inside your vagina. He didn't want to work out.
And that's watching your village. And
there you go.
It takes a village. You're not allowed to be in my village.
Like, because I literally planned our date. We were going out on Saturday. He planned our date from Tuesday.
And that's what I want. I'm like, it can't be that hard.
It's not that hard. It's a choice. It is a choice. I feel like a lot of these passes that we give them is because we're enabling them. Men love it, like no pain, no gain. They go to the gym and rip their fucking bodies to shreds. They like pain. Why the fuck are we serving them happiness on a platter? No pain, no gain. Like the more you tell them they can't have something, what do? They want it more. They're willing to go into these like strong men, strong Iron Men contests, whatever nonsense, get injured, break a limb, just to prove to us that they're strong. Why are we sitting there being like, oh my God, it's okay. Like, come lay on our chest.
Baby
like,
them.
No expectations, no requirements. You just show up. Just be alive. And we're going to just love you. Just be alive. Fuck that. No pain, no gain. No guy likes a girl no guy is going to wife a girl that's easy. They're going to like them. Okay. They're going to swipe left. They're going to play those games. If they can fuck, they're going to stick their dicks in ant holes. They're just nasty beings. I hate that. That's just what they do. They don't stick their dicks. They will stick their dicks anywhere, but they will not take those girls to their parents. I promise you that. So they're
going to the ant hole.
They will go to the anthole to get that.
Lady, wait, a freak in the street, a lady in the street.
But that's it. They will talk to all of the thoughts, as they say. They will talk to all the thoughts. They will have every thought in the book, right? But then they know the high valued women, the women that can spell encyclopedia, as opposed to the women that are yeah. And I know that I was like, you said to a guy, I'm just like, listen.
I know recycle, but
so you might not be a high valued woman, Karlie. We don't know.
RECYCLE, recycle.
That's not what she asked. She didn't answer the question.
No, but like they know that conversation, the substance. Like when they talk to us, they get true results. When they talk to those girls that look pretty but are just, I'm sorry to say, an empty shell. I don't want to say dumb as fuck. It's a lot more polished to say like an empty shell. They know that like.
But she said
it. I said it. But I mean, it's whatever.
Streets and then whoever else.
Yeah. They're for the streets, and I'm okay. Like, you're going to go out and you're going to sow your wild oats. You're going to be for the streets. But both you and I know that I'm the value that you want to come. Like, I make a house a home. I give you that.
I like to be on the street sometimes.
Like, I'm your confidant. I'm your partner. I'm your everything. Like, I'm the person that you can come to and have an intellectual conversation. Like, I'm that person. And when you're ready to rise to the occasion, I will be in attendance. And until then, I will not settle for mediocrity. You can go stick your dick once more in every hole you would like to stick it in, and when you're ready to be the person that we both know that you can be, I will be here, but I'm not going to settle.
Do we need to get some clapping in here?
I mean like...
Nadine on that soapbox, preaching girl.
I'm not at this age, not at 33.
So Nadine has let us know her thoughts. I know, and I respect what you say. I just think
and that's why you need to have friends that have different perspectives,
conviction,
different ages.
It's conviction. I promise you. Yes. The right guy will fall into your lap and pretty much adore the living daylights out of you if you have conviction. If you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. I promise you. The right guy with the right intentions will love every part of you. Will love you more than you will ever love him. I promise you that.
Trust me, I'm a Taurus. I'm hard-headed. I'm stubborn. I'm not falling.
I calculate how to kill them in 50 million ways. They're far more afraid of me than they are of you. I'm mean.
Oh, I'm scared of you. I'm scared of you. So, I can only imagine when you're going.
You can be like looking at me at dinner like, is she happy? And all my teeth are, and I'm just like, I hope they bring you out. And I'm smiling. Like I'm thinking of ways that you might die. Or if you told me any of your allergies, I'm counting on the part where I go to the bathroom and tell the chef, hey, can you add some more this to his food and kind of mix it in?
Cross Nadine. No one cross her because she has a vengeance that she will come.
I do.
And she has a Pisces best friend, and I keep her from not poisoning a lot of people. So
she has saved several lives, by the way. If anyone wants to follow Postpirations, because she will save your life when it comes to me.
And that is a tribe. That is a village.
It takes a village, guys.
Sometimes a village is one person, Sometimes it's several people. But I think this podcast, this episode just shows us how much we need a village sometimes to calm us down, put out that fire that's flowing from our head, Nadine.
Well, and I think too, to sum up too, you have to know when you need your girls, and when, if you have a spouse, to know when a man is just a man who can't understand the complex emotions that come along with being a woman, and a woman trying to figure out her own emotions. Exactly. And therefore you need to come in with an open mind of okay, how can I love on this woman? Versus if you're trying to date a man who hasn't learned how to communicate with others or learn how to understand his own emotions, we're never going to have even other friends. If you have a wall up, I can't get through to that wall. So that.
But I will also note, and I don't know if this is where you were going, but you made me think of something of we want to go to our village for things, but then we also have to acknowledge that there are some things that need to remain private within a relationship, and you don't want to be spilling that all out into your village, because then then that goes back to like what we were saying of like when you're constantly venting to your friends, now they're going to have a perspective on your man. And then what if you guys resolve this issue and forgive, but now your friends have that bad taste in their mouth?
Karlie, that is
So
a
we need to be
great point
cautious
for our
about
next
that
episode.
too.
That is a great point. When is it too much to share? Or how much is too much? That is a great topic, because we do have friends and we do have friends and family members that will use that vulnerability against us at a later time. So that is a great topic for our next show.
And like, I know for me, I am very open, and that's something that I realized of like, maybe I shared too much in my past relationship that it made all of my friends hate him. And there were good times, but we need to find that balance of like, maybe when you are arguing, don't tell your friends until after it's been resolved, or, you know, finding that whatever that balance is for you and your partner and how that works. But yeah, I think that is something too we have to acknowledge.
And two,
I love it.
when we say it takes a village, you are part of that village. So holding yourself responsible and making sure that you are coming into this the best human being you possibly can be in that moment, whatever life has offered you. Because again, it's not, I might call Nadine, but it's still not her responsibility to, at the end of the day, cheer me up. She can guide me to the water, but it's still my choice to drink it or not. It is not, because I know we've all gone through that, where you have friends who think that you are supposed to just be their light. And that, at the end of the day, you being a part of a village, you need to show up as the best version of yourself as well, and take that responsibility. So,
and also like when we turn to our tribe, our village, realizing that like what they tell us, like kind of take it with a grain of salt, you know, like acknowledge that they're not in it. They're not living your life. So the only info they have is what you're telling them. You're not telling them your partner's side. You're not telling them an outside, perspective. You're only telling them your perspective. So like Devyn said, like you have to realize like how you had mentioned earlier, like when you see all your friends leveling up, you'll want to level up. Well, you also want to level yourself up to help level your friends up.
Be a part of it. Be part of the movement.
Yes, you are part of that village, and you need to hold yourself to that standard. And just, I know that I can be very quick to turn to my friends and stuff, and that's something that I'm learning of, like, yeah, they're my friends and I will go to them, but knowing when, how, what do I say, because I don't want to then get their thoughts into my head and be like, okay, well, when it could have been something I could have easily communicated with my partner and we were able to resolve it, but instead I ran to my friends first. So it's like finding that balance of like
when to communicate. I talked to a woman the other day. She moved to a new city when she was 15, met a girl who approached her and was open-hearted with her, and they are 51 now, and they are still best friends. And I asked her, what do you think? Like, how did you keep a relationship that long? And she said, communication.
Yeah.
Literally, sometimes you're going to hurt the other person's feelings. And if you know you hurt that person's feeling, you need to go to them and say, hey, I know I hurt your feelings, and communicate and not just push things under the rug. It's hard being human. So we need to allow ourselves to be human and others to be human.
Yeah. And we're not going to get it right. Our friends are not going to get it right. They can only give us the advice. All advice is from past learned experiences, so they're giving us the advice from their past experiences that they've learned. So we, again, take it with a grain of salt. They're giving us what from their traumas and things that they've grown from. So all of our friends are going to have different advices, and we just have to take what we think works with us, but then realize like, we're all human. We're all learning. We don't know. We're just doing the best that we can do. So we have to just but at the end of the day, like we need to do what make the decision that fits best and feels most congruent with ourselves and our hearts.
Agree.
Well,
and I seldom say that without having an opinion. So, yeah.
Hey, so let's end on that note because we got Nadine to agree.
One word.
She said that's it.
I want to throw out one more thing before
that
we
you
end
love me.
to just check out. I love both of you, but also check out our Patreon page and our socials and just follow us. And we hope you enjoy.
Yes, this is our first episode, and I just want to thank everybody for showing up and supporting us. Leave comments, let us know, DM me if you ever want to be on an episode. We're hoping to soon to have some guests on here. So thank you for supporting us, and we'll see you next time.
And I will be even prettier.
Love it, Nadine.
All right,
Goodbye.
bye, guys.